Okay, we back. Okay, we're doing it. Okay, I decided we're gonna continue. This is episode 2 of my What If Civilization Started Over. Um, yes, nice. Yes, very good. Yeah, that's right. Um, so here we have everything from the last part. This is what happened, and we're gonna focus here on Olympia, who's improving in their seafaring abilities. They're moving out into the Mediterranean. Um, their initial endeavors were with Turkey, and that didn't go so well. They couldn't hold on to it, and they don't really have any aspirations westward, but they do have some aspirations southbound. I mean, that is where they discovered Crete. So they kind of just moved downward and they moved south. Do, 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 do. And so they keep moving south, and they keep moving south, and they keep moving south. And oh, what's that? Oh, there's people here. Uh-oh. They land right around here, take this land, and then realize there's people living here, down here in this new land. Incredible. So their focus is definitely going to be on this and the newest member of the map, newest country member of the map, Egypt, who their economy is obviously based on the Nile, which runs like down this way, but they're just kind of starting to make their way down the river. They originated by the coast, and they're probably people from Rhodes or whoever, people from here who moved down here and were like, ooh, river, crops, farmland, agriculture. So Egypt is doing pretty nice. They're doing pretty good for themselves, and they're expanding pretty quickly. And at this point, Olympia's kind of just watching. They're like, wow, you guys are pretty cool. So they're kind of trying to do the same thing. With their lands, but they obviously don't have a Nile River to expand on. They're kind of just going off the coast here, which doesn't leave them with a lot of room to grow crops, but they try, and they pretty much take over this like East Libyan, West Egyptian coastline. They try to move a little bit into the desert. They're not built for it though, so they kind of give up on that one pretty quickly, but they take all of that and all of this land under the control of Olympia. So that's pretty cool. Um, Roads, they're going to be making bigger strides in expansion, particularly along the South Anatolian slash East Mediterranean coast. They'll move inland a little bit, but mostly they're focused on capturing as much of it as they can. And they discover that it curves down like that. And they discover that there is a whole lot of land to be discovered this way, that way, and even like along the coastline too. So they're in Wonderland. There's so many possibilities for them, and they're excited. But they will land on Cyprus and discover the north half of the island. And I'm gonna forget about it, so I'm gonna just call them the whole island. They work on developing the island of Cyprus for living peoples. Yeah. So they do that, maybe a little bit of expansion inland. Oh, my my mouse. They move inland over here into the rockier parts of Anatolia, but they're cool with it. They're pretty stable. I imagine they're one of the more stable countries on the map. It's like up to this point, I imagine Olympia is pretty stable. They've chilled out. They've developed enough to not have such major breakaways. Although they are kind of sustaining this, so maybe not. You know what? I'm gonna say that like the most stable country right now is probably Rhodes. Yeah, let me get like a whack for show. Number one, probably Rhodes. Number two, probably like Olympia, number 3, Albania, number 4, Slavia, number 5, Egypt, number 6, North Anatolia, and then probably the least stable country is like these guys. And then they could be 7. It's probably didn't need a ranking, but it's okay. We're gonna focus on Dardanelles and their expansion into both Anatolia and Eastern Balkan Europe. These guys move in, they're trying to get as much territory as they can. Up to this point, they want a lot of Anatolian land, and they do not like these guys. They really do not like these guys. Actually, they kind of just don't like either of the neighbors. They want their land. They want Thessaloniki. They come from Thessaloniki. They view that land as theirs. They view this land as theirs, North Anatolia, Black Sea territory. But for now, they'll pursue other coastline in the Black Sea along the eastern Balkan areas of Europe, moving up here along the coastlines of modern-day Bulgaria and Romania. Why are the red pixels up here? What? They did not get up there. Um, no, I'll just make them go all the way up here, and then there we go. So these guys have made a pretty big expansion here. Can they hold on to it? Remains to be seen. As for these guys, there's a weird color difference here. I'm just gonna. What is? Okay, maybe. Can you even see that? I don't know. Here, I'll just. There we go. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now, let's talk about Orange Slavia. They are going to be making some moves. They're going to be migrating this way towards Croatia, and they're actually going to move their capital over here to this area of Croatia, pretty far away from the rest of the developed countries up to this point. The the countries they're pretty far away, but that's okay. They like their privacy, so they're developing all this land, and they're getting very big, but they're actually handling it fairly well. Um, Comparatively, they're whoa, what am I opening up? They're doing pretty good. They're functioning, and the same cannot be said for these guys, the East Albanians. They are struggling. They're expanding, but they are struggling with massive internal issues, and they're just a mess. Their hunting isn't going so well. They're not hunting well. And Thessaloniki will also attempt to expand. They have issues too, not nearly to the degree of these guys, but they aren't very prosperous or anything. They're trying to expand. They're trying to become prosperous, but it's just not working. Also, this is meant to be colored in. My bad. Um, so leaving out or zooming out, I forgot the word there for a minute. Southern Balkan Europe's looking pretty developed. Countries will eventually move inland. But right now, these 4 countries are dealing with major stability issues, so they aren't able to grow at the pace that you would want them to. Now, I'm going to go back to Egypt here. Their expansion's going to be pretty big here, but they're also one of the more stable countries in the world up to this point. They're expanding into the desert a little bit, and if I'm being real with you, it's because I don't know exactly where the Nile runs, so I'm kind of just like everywhere near the Nile. But I'm pretty sure it expands. Pretty sure the Nile goes in a little bit here, but they're just gonna take all this land. They're pretty powerful, relatively speaking. They're kind of separated from the rest of Europe up to this point, but that's fine. They are expanding big time into Africa. Whoa, what did I just do? Okay, it looks like they're fine. I'm gonna click undo on that. Oh, it just undid everything I did. Okay, well, we'll redo it. They expand this much through all of this land. Pretty crazy. mostly along the Nile, and then people move out, and then they're like, "You're Egyptian," and they're like, "All right." So all this land is Egypt. They'll also make some expansions this way east into the Sinai Peninsula. They won't get super far, they'll get like that far. So Egypt, pretty big, pretty juicy, doing pretty good. Um, Now what do we do? Well, new country time. It's time for a new country here in Italy. Albanians and probably East Albanians dissatisfied with whatever's going on here in the Balkans move westward across the sea to a new land that's been talked about. Uh, the Italian Peninsula. I don't know what the name for it is. I think it's just Italy. But they're gonna discover these lands and they're gonna develop them, and people live here now. Welcome to Rome, except they aren't in Rome. Where is Rome? I think Rome's like right here. We'll make them get to Rome. So they expand. Up to this point, they're not very strong. Expand up here. There's some mountains running through here, so they probably have some difficulty getting through and around them. But eventually, they move along this coastline here, along these coastlines here. They take shop in Rome and build their capital there. And then they discover that. So now we have Italy, and we'll also have North Italy up here because we got some goons from the Slavic country deciding to start their own country right about here, right about where Venice is. Somewhere in here, I think Venice is like right there. Their capital's right there. They move this way. They Most of their economy is situated right there near Venice. Eventually, they move across and discover the west side of this and realize that this is a whole new ocean over here for these guys. They knew this existed. I mean, I guess Rome actually knew that there was more land on the other side. So as far as they're concerned, there's a whole new world over here. They don't know about these two islands. They don't know about French coast. They don't know about like Carthage area. It'll be fun. It'll be so fun. Um, let's get back to these guys, the purple Anatolians. They're gonna move inland a little bit, but not much. They're mainly focused on the coastal areas. They'll move up here, capturing more and more of the coast, moving farther and farther eastward, becoming the farthest eastward country, I think. I think Egypt's like goes diagonal, but yeah, it's not enough. So they discover a boatload of coast and they begin moving inland. And they're actually like their capital is over here. So these areas are unstable, but like it's actually like they're doing a good job, is basically what I'm establishing. That they are stable in spite of their uh in spite of the distance between areas like this and the majority of their economic power, which is like this area. So they're doing pretty good. Now, we haven't really had any wars break out yet. I imagine some of these countries don't like each other, particularly Dardanelles, but I also imagine they're pretty weak and going to war is very difficult for them. So we'll refrain from that for now. What we will do is draw up a peace treaty over here in Anatolia to divide up this land, particularly like this land, this big old area. These three countries don't want to quarrel over trying to dissect it, so they just kind of draw up lines of the area they want. And these guys up here, they don't actually want that much land up in the western area, but they want a decent portion of the eastern areas, which, to be fair, only really Rhodes cares about it as far east as this, and even then they're kind of like, we don't care that much. So we're gonna have these guys demanding this area of like right around here, upward, they want all this land, and then they also want all of this. They want all this land up here, which is a lot. And these two are gonna have to come to an agreement. But what is established is that the Dardanellians are going to get this land out here in the West Anatolian area. They're going to get all this. They're going to acquire it, and these two will not really fight them on it, which is cool because fighting is not good. So they do all that. These guys will take their claims of the land, like the claims that have been agreed upon. They still have some work to do with Rhodes, but their rocky relationship with the Dardanellians is healing. They're healing. They're not friends, but they're not enemies either. So that's pretty cool. I'm just gonna color the rest of this thing. These guys are already going to get this land. The question is on Rhodes's claims over here because it's a lot, and these guys will work out something that'll look something like this. So they will get this land right here, inland Turkey or Anatolia, and then we'll even give it like a little bit of something like that. Perfect. Okay. And Rhodes will get the rest. So this becomes Rhodes. Pretty powerful, pretty solid land gains. Let me do something like that to fix it too. So here we are, Anatolia divided. Mm, get that peak stretch. And Rhodes will. I mean, both of these countries probably haven't developed these lands super well yet. They're going to be spending a lot of time trying to control the lands that they've acquired through this treaty. And especially since a lot of them are really far away. The Dardanelles capital is right here. The North Anatolian country's capital is right here. And then Rhodes' capital is all the way over here. So they're trying to keep together as a part of their country territories that are very far away from their lands. So can they do it? Remains to be seen. Albania, they haven't done anything. They can't expand outwards. They've just been focusing inward, which is pretty cool. These guys trying to fix their stability issues. Same with Thessaloniki. There's territory they could expand into, but aren't because the bigger issue is inward. And one country that's a big fan of that is these guys, the Slavs. The Slavic kingdom will move into these inland Balkan territories and will actually make a larger effort. Their campaign mostly is along the East Albanian border because they want to snatch up as much land in the deep inland areas of the Balkans as they can. And in an attempt to cut them off, they just move they move inland pretty far east. They move very quickly, very hastily, and so naturally, when they do that, they initially they manage to secure this area, and they move. They don't stop. They keep moving, and eventually these territories begin to get frustrated with the Slavs, and eventually they break away. Right around here. So this they went and they took all this land and couldn't secure it, so a giant chunk is going to be breaking away. Now, what color do I want to choose? Probably, I want to choose purple, but Albania is already purple. We'll do like lavender. I think that works. But a giant chunk of this country is going to break away over here along Thessaloniki's border. Actually, it's just going to be like big, big square. It's like Poland, but in the Balkans. Big square. Square shape. So Slavia is going to focus on maintaining their territory that they didn't lose through active rebellion, and they're going to focus. They were very stable. Now they're a little less stable, but they're working on regaining that, and they will be regaining that. So these guys, the where even is that? Serbia? I think this is like Serbia, like South Serbia. Their capital's probably like up here. So Serbia going to be expanding, and they're going to be expanding northward, take all this land, and then they don't move eastward though, because Thessaloniki, despite their stability issues, is going to be attempting to make another play at this land over here, and they will be taking some of it. Not a whole heap, but like that much. They get that. And then Dardanella also is going to make a play for some of the inland areas of the coast by their precious Black Sea. They take all this land all the way up here to the edge of South Ukraine, which is very far. That's very audacious of them. And they'll even cross to the other side and take this area too, approaching Crimea. So the Dardanelles taken on a lot of land. Can they keep it all together? Who knows? Zooming out here, you can see that there's a lot of expansion going on. The Balkans have been long filled up at this point, but we have Anatolia, presence in Africa, North Balkans are getting discovered, and eventually the Italian peninsula will experience some shakeup with a active rebellion from here. I'm trying to get a good color going. An active rebellion from this Italian country, Rome, is going to experience a revolt. Or maybe not a revolt, but I just imagine there's generally like a faction split. Like Albania split into West and East Albania, and I imagine most of these settlers of the Italian peninsula come from these two countries. So there's a divide forming. I don't know what caused it. Maybe they have a religion. I don't know. It's pretty early on, but this entire area, these like original founding areas of Rome, break away, citing how the current Romanian, not Romanian, Roman, I don't know why I just say Roman, Roman government, too focused on the west side of the peninsula and all the possibilities out here. They feel like they're being forgotten, so they break away. Skirmishes ensue. These guys, who I'm actually going to change the color because it's pretty similar to these guys. I'm going to do like, there we go. So these guys, they're kind of ignoring it. They're like, okay, whatever, we'll take a little bit of land down here, but that's about it. We'll take that, and then we'll leave you alone and pursue northward expansions. So they continue to move this way, and we're doing pretty good. Why is there one pixel there? Yeah. So they keep expanding, and eventually they reach kind of a stability crisis, and they go from very stable to very unstable very fast. And in the process, we have a few nations actually breaking away from them. So the first of which will be over here. These guys will break away from them in the northwest. I can think of numbers. And then we will also have these guys over here in Slovenia. I, oh my God. These guys break away. This is kind of where the country first started. So these guys break away. And then these guys are just not having a good time. They had two major breakaways. Their country basically split into thirds, which un ungood for long-term stability. Ugh, I can't English anymore. Unfortunate. But now we will look at a sort of peace treaty being brokered between these two, in which Rome gets this and Rheims. I'm gonna call them Rheims. Rome and Rheims. Rheims will get the east coast of the Italian peninsula, and Rome will get the west coast, divided here with the mountains. Rome will then continue to push upwards north, meet up with these guys, and then there's still some like mountain debates over who owns what. I'll settle that in a second, but first Rome is going to claim all of Sicily. I know they're a pretty big mountain. They're gonna develop all the coastal areas around it and then take it as their own. So now I'll divide this up real quick. After many, many skirmishes, Rome agrees to take this percentage of the mountains, this area of the mountains, and then Rheims will get the rest. So the Italian peninsula has been fully divided up between Rome and Rheims, down the middle, along the mountains. And zooming out, you can see all the new countries. How many countries are here exactly? I don't know. I'll count actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I might have miscounted. I think it's like 14, but a lot of countries. Before we go, I guess I'll focus on this. Olympia has been putting a lot of their focus into their colony down here. I say colony, but it's, they're relatively close enough to where it's not really like a colony. All the people that live here are Olympian. So yeah, and they try to move into the desert a little bit. It goes pretty poorly. They technically have the land, but nobody lives there. It's useless land, unsmart of them. But they'll move a little bit westward, take a lot of this Libyan coast here, the inland areas. They'll go up here, and they'll take a lot of this coast, and this will be where most of their colonies endeavors go, and they'll start adjusting routes for this area. So this area in the west area of their colony becomes one of the most prosperous, and their colonies allowing them to build a pretty strong economy up in Africa, and they're cooking. They're doing good. As for Egypt, they're continuing their extreme expansion across the Red Sea. They're going to take a gigantic chunk of land. And, yeah, they get all that. And they even take over all of the east areas of their country, the Sinai Peninsula, and begin moving up into the southwest of Asia, the Middle East, and they take over all this and begin their movement down the Arabian coast and up the Israeli coast. And they're getting enormous, perhaps even unstable. But that'll do it for this episode, I guess. This is episode 2. I kind of ended the first one abruptly. I went to go get some water, but yeah, I recorded these first two back to back. You could probably tell I'm wearing the same clothes and everything. I look the same. Um, so that'll do it for episode 2. Recap. Anatolia was solved. The Balkans got a little more northern. Italy was discovered and inhabited. Africa was developed, particularly by Egypt and Olympia, who are probably the two strongest countries in this map. To do a quick little power ranking before I go, I'll turn the brush down to 1 and I'll do some rankings. So I think number 1 at this point is probably these guys. They're the first. They've been around the oldest. They have a giant colony that they're siphoning agricultural resources from. 2 is probably Egypt. Their presence along the Nile is really helping them out and helping them get a lot of agriculture. Third, oh my God, I can't English. 3 is a little trickier. I'm gonna go with Slavia. I think they're probably doing pretty good up here in the Balkans. They're cooking. 4 will go Rhodes. They're doing pretty good. 5 Dardanelles. 6 East Turkey, East Anatolia. 7 probably Serbia. Actually, no, probably not Serbia. 7 we'll say is Rome. 8 we'll say is Rheims. 9 we'll say is Serbia. 10 Thessaloniki. 11 North Italy or Florence. think Florence is there, but Florence. 12 Milan, 13 Slovenia, 14 oh, I forgot about Albania. They're probably way higher than 14. All right, hold up. Hold up. We'll put them at 7. And then whatever. Top 5. Top 5 and whatever. I'm about to retire already. All right. Farewell. Bye bye. Episode 2 is over.